Yeah, maybe, but the racket will talk.
Welcome to our mid-US Open episode, talking about the first week of the US Open, what's happened so far. We're at the fourth round stages.
Yes.
That's why it's halfway through. We've just had the first week. We're going to go into the second week. All of our fourth round matches are set up, and we've got some pretty good ones as well. What should we start with?
I mean,
men's
I think
or women's?
Let's start with some men's, which I guess that's kind of what we always do. But here again, I think it's very much warranted.
Yeah, it's becoming a thing. I find I'm really into some of the women's matches and people that we've got ready. So I think the men's is a better place to start. It's like when we were doing our sort of prediction things, I was looking at this and I was thinking, there's no way some of these players can fuck this up, because I literally cannot think of someone else who would take this fourth round spot, and yet here we are with these someone else's instead of semi-decent players like Tsitsipas or Ruud. I'm just going to quickly run through the matches we got. So it's Sinner versus Bublik, Musetti versus Munar, Felix Auger-Aliassime against Andrei Rublev, and Leandro Riedi against Alex de Minaur. That's the top half. On the bottom half, we got Djokovic against Jan-Lennard Struff, Mahac Fritz, Manarino Lehechka, and Rinderknecht Alcaraz. So a lot of very random names in there. Very random names, but actually every match has one seeded player, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as much as like the full-on seeds collapse that we had at Wimbledon. Maybe it's just, I don't know. I mean, still quite a few of them obviously are out, and a lot of these matches feel very, very one-sided. Like not even close to being something. Like you going to like half of them. I'm just that's not really going to be very interesting, probably.
Or it might be. The thing I think about the randomness of this is it's not like it's the best unseeded players. It's not like you've had a kind of dark horse who made the fourth round. It's just straight up random. And actually, I think a lot of that's been caused, or some amount of that's been caused by retirements and injuries and things like that. I'm looking at like the Leandro Riedi thing. But yeah, we'll start at the top, talk about I guess both Sinner and Bublik, who both played very relevant matches yesterday, I think.
Right. Yes, I mean, starting with Sinner, which was in today's session, he keep getting the same exact spot in the schedules, which probably will have to change at some point.
I guess he's asking for it.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And I think like up until now, there's been enough Americans that they could then say, we'll put some Americans in the night session, and Yannick, you can have the day if you want to, but
but it's not like he's playing great. I mean, the first two rounds were good, they were fine. There was maybe a slight concern about the serving against Poprin, despite being a fairly uncompetitive match. Was still noticeable that Sinner was making like 45 first serves in, which is not good, and something
that's the percentage, 45%.
Yeah.
The whole match.
Yeah, the whole match.
That's crazy.
Which is not good. Something he really does need to fix if he wants to win this trophy, which of course he does.
Because that's the thing as well in his Alcaraz matchups, right? That's been like
for
a
sure.
big point, is that the first serve percentage goes low. So maybe he's getting it out of the way early on.
Yeah, I guess that's what you hope for him. But yeah, and yesterday against Shapovalov, I mean, just kind of strange, that performance in many ways, and just the way I read it is like he found a way to like take control of the match, but it never felt like his game like actually got to a level where he could kind of just pull through and be really convincing. He it was more about like controlling big moments and momentum, and not as much about him finding some really good tennis to win it. So that's how it felt.
I'm not sure. I think there was some. I think the moment when he made the big comeback in the third set, that stretch of play was pretty good. I think that to me felt like some improvements, because I agree, like early on in that match, the first 2 sets, I was really thought there was something wrong with him in some way, like something small wrong with him, which there kind of always is, because he was off it. He was a bit off it. I think that I don't want to undersell how good Shapovalov is, because I actually think maybe some amount of the problem there was that neither of them were expecting the match to look like that, or at least Sinner wasn't expecting the match to look like that, because actually it wasn't just Shapovalov being super erratic and blasting him off the court in some moments but then missing wildly in other moments. He was like in the long rallies with him and trying to construct points, and I think Yannick on a good day comes into that match and can adjust and be like, okay, fine, this is how we're going to play. But I think that the missing level, Shapovalov really outperforming and performing in a different way than he would have expected, all kind of combined to create this match that was way more competitive than people expected. I mean, I didn't even watch it from the start, despite really loving Shapovalov. And then I tuned in by the time he was a break-up in the first set, and I thought, okay, it's a break-up in the first set, whatever, everyone's been here, Mute's been here, he'll get back on terms, which Sinner did in the first set, and then he served to stay in it, and Shapovalov broke him, and I thought, that's a super weird occurrence, because you feel like he's kind of steadied the ship. A very weird match. I actually think it was like really good at times from Shapovalov, but as soon as he lost that lead in the third set, that was it, really. And Sinner, like you said, he just took control, but he didn't really wrestle control. Shapovalov kind of handed it over to him by the fact that he was just relentlessly good enough. I think Shapovalov was a bit shocked by the fact that he could play so well and still not have a comprehensive lead on Sinner, because he was really great for most of that match, and he was like, I've never played this many points without missing before, but Sinner's still in the lead, and he even looks a bit frustrated because he knows he's not playing as well as he can. So I think there's a combination of Sinner not being on his level, Shapo being better than his level, but annoyed that it wasn't good enough. Very confusing. Yeah.
No, and I mean, that's perfectly accurate, I think. If you tell me, oh yeah, Shapovalov is going to take a set against Sinner, I'm like, sure, I can see that, but in my mind that would be him redlining and hitting winner after winner for like 15 minutes or something, which can happen. That's what he does sometimes. But yeah, I mean, he basically beat Sinner at his own game in the first. It was a lot of serve return dynamics being pressure being applied, which is always what Sinner does. Those are like some of his best traits. But because his own serve was kind of off, it felt different, and Shapovalov, was doing a super good job, like staying in long rallies. Some of them he lost, but he was still in them, he wasn't like, okay, well, it's looking like a long rally, it's a 7th shot, let me try to, make the best winner ever and miss, which is what you would normally do. I guess it was interesting and kind of encouraging, just from the Shapovalov point of view, but yeah, from Sinner, it's maybe a tiny bit of a concern. We are not at like, oh, he's probably going to get upset soon. I don't think we are there just yet, but just something to look at, especially the serving, just to see if that improves and if that's something he can get under control.
Yeah, I thought Shapovalov's return was really incredible, because I noticed that he goes really big on almost all his returns, so he can sometimes just be missing and giving opponents free service game after free service game, but that really wasn't the case here, and it meant that he was in a lot of those games and they became quite close. I think the reason it was weird is because it really did feel like, at the beginning, first, like, let's say 3 sets, it felt like a match between 2 players who were fairly evenly matched. Right? If you had watched that without knowing much about them, you'd think that was that, because the tennis still looked pretty good to someone who isn't familiar with how ridiculously well Sinner can play. It didn't even really feel like the Dimitrov match at Wimbledon, where it was like really shocking and unexpected. It just felt like 2 top players playing each other quite close. And I just watched Shapovalov's press conference this morning, and he seems, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but he seems really encouraged and happy by the performance. With his performance, he said that he is, as he's getting older, he's becoming more mature, and it's kind of maybe explains a little bit why he's a bit more patient in these rallies and understand that's how you have to play tennis.
Yeah, it's interesting because the performance itself, like the game he was playing, did feel quite mature, but he like as a player, as a person on court, still didn't quite feel that way. There were a few moments when he would get like upset at random stuff, and it's like you should be able to move past it. That there was when he was broken back in the first set, there was a foot fault, and I don't know, he went to the umpire and he was like, oh, I never foot fault, and it's very convenient that when I'm saying for the set this happens, he was like, oh yeah, someone hit the foot fault button so that he can break back, and it's like, can you be serious?
I mean, I wonder how much of this kind of conspiracy thing was boosted by his reaction to the Sinner ban. He was very much on the side of different rules for different players, and there's some amount to be discussed about that, which we have
done, to be fair.
We've done, and everyone else has done enough, but I think in his head there's still a thing of like, oh, the people, the establishment, are pro Sinner. I went to I meant to talk about this in a bit more detail at some other point, maybe after the US Open, but just briefly, I went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is like a comedy and theatre festival thing that goes on every year in Edinburgh, and I went to a show. It's nominated for Best Show, of a woman who used to be a line umpire for Wimbledon for like 25 years or something, and she's made this stand-up comedy show about it. But she said that one of the things that she mentioned was once one of her friends, her colleagues, called someone for a foot fault. It was some guy back in the noughties, one of those angry types, probably like a Goran Ivanisevic type, maybe even Goran Ivanisevic. But she called him for a foot fault, and the guy came over and said, I've never foot faulted in my life. And the line umpire was like, actually, I think I called you for one like last week in Eastbourne. And it's funny because I think everyone says that. I've never been called for a foot fault. I never foot fault. And like, it's like, all of your matches are on YouTube, or they can be viewed somewhere, and I don't believe that you've never foot faulted. Anyway, it reminded me of that when I was watching it. But I think overall, kind of kept his frustration in check, because it was very much like I'm just happy to be here for a lot of the match.
Yeah, and I guess something that did happen in the third when Sinner came back, and that kind of ended the match in many ways. There was like maybe one line call that he was like unhappy about, so maybe that also kind of set him back a little and enabled, Sinner to win 6 games in a row. So that's something that shouldn't really have happened from the Shapovalov perspective, I don't think, but yeah, that's what it was.
That's the thing though, with someone like Shapovalov, you can either hope that the brain kind of gets fixed, or he needs to be so much better than his opponent to win. In majority of cases, he just is not going to win these close matches. Yeah. So it's hard in this kind of situation imagining, even if he was outplaying Sinner, it was very difficult to imagine an upset in the way that sometimes if you had the Dimitrov match, I could have imagined an upset, because I don't think Dimitrov is going to implode quite as aggressively as Shapovalov did, at least mentally, maybe physically. I think the other two matches were very straightforward, apart from the serving worries. Is this match made you less confident in Sinner, or more confident? Same? Okay.
No, it does make me less confident, and I mean, that's kind of the game we always play when Sinner and Alcaraz are in the draw. Like, you're looking at both of them, and it's like they're already playing. They are not playing actually, but you look at the performances, like, okay, so Alcaraz is playing a bit better, so maybe that means I think it's pretty natural for people to think like that, And if we do that, I mean, Alcaraz is actually playing amazing, and Sinner isn't. So you're already thinking 3 matches ahead, literally. And you're like, oh, he really needs to get himself together. Whereas Alcaraz, you're like, oh, he just needs to keep doing this, I guess. Which, obviously, none of this is like actually consequential, Anything can happen within those 3 matches, and their level is probably going to be determined on the day, not by the matches they played in that week, But I think it's hard not to think of those things.
But it's weird because we haven't been here before. If it were the other way round, we would be like, that's how it is,
Yeah.
Carlos is going to drop sets to randos, and he's going to look dodgy at times, but when he makes it there, we know what to expect. Now it's the other way around, and you've got Carlos kind of coming through really cleanly, and Sinner looking a bit more shaky. We don't have a precedent for this, so we can't even extrapolate what that matchup will look like based on those. So yeah. I'm interested, and obviously we'll see how Jannik performs. Aside from the next match, I think he's all good. Maybe even in the next match. So his next match is Alexander Bublik, who he played in the quarterfinals of Roland Garros.
Indeed.
Yeah. And everyone was kind of expecting big things after Bublik apparently played the best tennis anyone's ever played against Jack Draper. And Bublik was, he won like 3 games or something.
Yeah, no, it was not competitive at all.
But then, just a couple of weeks later, beat him in Halle, which is obviously ridiculously quick and a server's paradise, and Jannik was still reeling from the Roland Garros loss. But interesting little mini rivalry, I guess, going on between them.
Yeah, I mean, that's 3 matches in not a lot of time, and it's also, I mean, it's a match between 2 players in great form. If you look at the past 3 months, this is easily Bublik's best stretch ever. It's his best US Open already. And
I picked him. I knew he was in my power rankings.
That's true.
And I picked him to make it here because I just I trusted him, and he played apparently an excellent match against Tommy Paul last night. Did you watch it?
No.
Okay.
I was sleeping. Finally.
Yeah. But 5 sets against Tommy Paul. A very Tommy Paulish 5th set because he lost it 6-1.
That's true.
But apparently it was excellent, and I can't imagine that match was excellent. If you told me these two played 5 sets, I can see it already. How do you sort of expect the Bublik Sinner match to go?
I mean, yeah, again, there are question marks, If Sinner can get his serve together, I think he'll be fine. I think he still will find more opportunities to break Bublik probably. And even if you get to a tiebreak, I would trust him more in that setting as well. But, it's still, I guess, not the easiest, there's still some potential danger. I mean, in that way, it's kind of similar to Shapovalov when it's there's still a high ceiling there and some potential for trouble. So, yeah, I think Sinner in 3 or 4 should still be rather safe bet, but
it won't be as one-sided as the Roland Garros match.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think it should be, no.
Yeah, because I think even though Sinner's best surface is hardcourt, obviously, and he's easily the best hardcourt player in the world, that on clay, that feels like it could be more dramatic, of course, because Bublik's serve has far less of an impact. So you can see 6-1, 6-love very easily. Here, you think that the sets are going to be closer, at least. And obviously, Bublik not great on clay, although he's won 2 tournaments in a row. So yeah, that's that 4th round. The winner of that match in the quarterfinals will face the winner of Lorenzo Musetti and Jaume Munar. Munar's, I don't know why. he's beaten Jaime Faria, Gabriel Diallo, and Zizou Bergs to make the 4th round. It was that section of the draw that collapsed because Jack Draper had to pull out with injury. Yeah.
And I actually had some Munar takes, which I guess you wouldn't expect, but he's much improved, actually, in many ways. This was the typical Spanish, loves clay, grinder, pusher type. And
very loud.
Yeah, very loud, that's true. Yeah, very intense physically, but, not that much in the actual shots, And some things have changed. This is a guy who can actually win matches on both grass and faster hard courts. Just because I think his serve is improved, and it's probably also a lot to do with a different mentality and a will to just play way more points on his terms. And he's still obviously strong physically and can play long matches and come out of it. So, well, I don't think he's going to be that much of a factor from here, but still a guy who has really made some strides and whose place here doesn't feel even that random to me.
Really? Okay. I mean, I suppose once Draper's out, the section completely opens up, but I think I would have expected Diallo and Berg both to beat him.
I think Diallo, I would have expected him to do it, but him losing to Munar is also not shocking.
And straight set, so it wasn't especially close.
Yeah.
He played, was it Munar who played the 3-setter against Alcaraz in Queens that was...
Yeah.
Alcaraz's longest ever 3-set match.
Yeah.
So, maybe he's had a little bit of an improvement. I guess... I don't like him. He's too loud for me, and I don't like him. And I think I don't like his attitude either. I think sometimes I've watched him before, a little bit of dodgy sportsmanship situations.
Interesting.
But Musetti, also not known for his hard court prowess. This is his first appearance in the second week of a hard court slam, which is crazy because he's, well, we know what he is. He's made semi-finals of other slams, and he's the number 10 seed here. So having never made a second week of a hard court slam is pretty surprising, considering how much of the tour is played on hard courts.
Yeah, I mean he's very unique in that he's much better on natural surfaces, and there's like a huge gap that doesn't really exist anymore. That kind of archetype, but I mean, it seems like he's found ways to be at least decent on hard, which honestly he really wasn't up until that point. It's actually it's like he's top like 6-7 on clay and grass, and he's like.
He's a Boisson level clay player. And a Boisson level hardcourt player.
Honestly, kind of close to that, maybe like top 50 on hard, but not much better than that, So it's great for him that he's having this run. His serve has changed a little, so maybe that's helping. And apparently he stopped trying to be a different player on hard courts, which you would think is what everyone does and what should make sense, but apparently he used to really try to like take the ball super early and and change his court position a lot, and now that he's just playing his normal game but on hard, he's performing better, which does make sense.
I have a take on this which we will come back to, I think, when we talk about Naomi, because it's originated for her, but it applies for other people as well. Musetti also benefited from a retirement, though, because he played his bestie, Flavio Cobolli, in the third round, and Cobolli had what was the injury? Shoulder? No, that was someone else. That was Shelton. Some injury, and had to retire from that match. And
he played 10 sets in the first round.
Yeah. It felt like it was coming, based on all the tennis he had played, but sad anyway. And they were both pretty sad after that, I think, because, they do genuinely get along, I understand. And Cobolli was I watched him against Brooksby, and I loved a lot of what I was seeing there. I think he's so impressive. I love those guys who just like bounce around the court like they are. I just watch them and imagine what it must feel like to be that athletic. And it just feels like you can just like jump over everything and just run to anything and slide around and thrash about. I think he's like Mahatch and Alcaraz before he got old. But Musetti, good performance for him. I will say I think I was really impressed by him beating Petri Pericard in the first round, because I always think that's a hard test. And a hard test for Musetti on hard courts.
Yes. No. Yeah. I mean, everyone was looking at it that way, But then everyone remembered that Petri Pericard is the worst returner of all time, basically. Yeah. So that. But
he won. The sets that Musetti won were 6-3, 6-4, 6-4. So he did manage to break. Yeah. Pericard all of those times.
So that was encouraging. Yeah, for sure.
And as we know, he is boosted by the wearing of an elbow sleeve.
That's the new. What was the name? Oh no, I forgot. That's unfortunate. The racket brand that
Yonex.
Yeah, that's the new Yonex Boost.
Very much so. The winner of then this little section goes on to play the winner of the next section, which is a fourth round match between Felix Auger-Aliassime and Andrei Rublev, and a fourth round match between Leandro Riedi and Alex de Minaur. We'll start with the Auger-Aliassime Rublev match because it feels a little bit 3 years ago.
Absolutely, yeah. Huge win, of course, for Felix yesterday, beating Zverev in 4 sets. That's actually probably upsets of the tournament, I think.
His first, on the men's side, his first top 5 win at a slam. He was 0-7 before, and we know, some of them people will remember those matches. They were Medvedev in Australia, Nadal in Roland Garros, things like moments where he was in those matches. So it's surprising that he's never won one of them until now.
Yeah, that's true, but that was also the very best version of him in 2022, the first half. But yeah, it's impressive that he's done this. I actually haven't seen that much of it, but I saw a few points, and I heard about him really taking control of the match with his forehand, which is absolutely what he would want to do in that matchup. But he apparently was able to execute it, which probably means making a bunch of them at really high pace and to great targets, and that's really impressive, really encouraging. That's his best moment in a really long time, so it will be interesting to see what that looks like in the fourth round. The best version of Auger-Aliassime I would actually expect to beat Rublev, but when it's only one match, you're like, okay, so what's next?
Yeah, I mean, I was already impressed by Felix because, I was fairly high on him. I picked him to come through and make this fourth round match. I then was really impressed by the win over Safulin in straight sets because I think that's a guy who someone like Felix can lose to in 5 sets at a slam. And yeah, someone said, I just read a tweet a few minutes ago before we started recording about Felix must have heard what Zverev said about him. Do you know what that's referring to? I
think Zverev was asked about Felix, and he, probably something along the lines of, this guy who used to be kind of close to you and be this rising figure in men's tennis, and playing all those big matches, and all of that, and now it's coming to that match. It felt like they were not on the same level anymore because Felix had really regressed in many ways. And he was like, yes, he can play really well in some matches, but he can also be really bad.
Yes, I know, I do remember that. When he's good, he's really good, and when he's bad, he's really bad. Yeah,
which honestly, it's not even... That's not untrue. But,
it's not untrue, but it's also it's not... Yeah. I mean, is it that insightful?
It's the type of comment you shouldn't make before a match.
For sure. And Felix played that match as... I do agree, he played that match as if he'd heard that comment. Yeah, because he was so... sometimes he gets cocky almost. Do you remember in Paris when he was shushing the crowd? It's ages ago now. He was shushing the crowd and everyone was like, oh my god, not our nice boy Felix shushing the crowd. It felt like that. He was he was there for it. He wasn't sorry sir. And that showed in the way he played. He exposed the fact that Zverev is scared of everything and sits back and just hits the balls back to you. He was dominating with his forehand, and excellent. Came back from a set down. I watched a lot of it. I was in and out of sleep while watching it, but I had a dream. I woke up. When you're halfway between sleep and I woke up and saw the Tommy Paul result with Bublik, and I thought I saw that it took 7 hours. I was like, wow, a 7-hour match. And then just went back to sleep. And then when I woke up properly, I was like, I don't think that could have been 7 hours. Anyway, I kind of followed that. Great result for Felix as well. I think this is the first time he's been here since the Carlos at US Open to the second week, since when he played Carlos and and Carlos retired against him in 2021, I would guess.
You mean the second week of the Slam?
Of US Open.
Oh, yes, Open. Yeah, probably, yeah, that's true, I think.
Yeah, and he'll play Andrei Rublev, who only just beat Coleman Wong, the Hong Kong qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
How do you call someone who's from Hong Kong?
I have no idea.
Hong Kongian.
Well, yeah, that would be my instinct, yeah.
I was sad that he didn't win this match because there's a joke to be made about like King Wong in New York. Because I think King Kong like goes to New York in the film. I don't know. I'm not old enough. I didn't go through the process of researching the joke, but I thought there's something there. Anyway, he took Rublev to 5 sets. Rublev came through that. That was Rublev was shit in that match. Like,
yeah.
Didn't watch any.
No, I watched some of it. I watched the end actually, where Rublev was actually pretty decent, but probably shouldn't have been a tight 5-setter. I don't think, but that's what it was in the end. And I mean, on the basis of that, I would back Felix in that match. I think.
Yeah. Have they played that much? It feels like they should have, but I can't remember.
Oh yeah, I mean they probably surely they have at least like 5 matches, and with like 4 of them being at 500, because they used to like really turn up at 500. I don't know if you.
Yeah,
remember.
I think there are some 500 finals where Rublev beat Felix, because you remember Felix used to lose finals like nobody's business.
Yeah, everyone has beaten him in the 500 probably. Yeah. I'm looking it up just now, but they have played at least like 7 matches, I would say.
Really? I think that's too many.
It's actually 7-1 in favor of Rublev.
What was the one?
Even breakdown.
I guess Rublev beat
in
him
Rotterdam,
in Madrid final. Was that?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. And the one win is in Rotterdam in 2022, which
semis.
I don't remember. They don't actually give you the round. Oh, actually they do. It was semi-final. They're good.
Yeah, because that was Felix's first title, and as indoor. So hopefully the rain comes down and they close the roof for that one. I did have to check whether the roof was closed for the Zverev match.
In those night sessions, that's always what it feels like. Like the roof can be open, and it still feels kind of indoorsy. Okay,
because it's bizarre the difference between Felix indoors and outdoors. Like literally, close the roof on an arena and he plays well. They will play the winner of Leandro Riedi against Alex de Minaur, which is a skip if I ever seen one. No offense to him.
It's so okay. We probably have to talk about him. So wait, what's his name?
Kamil Majerzak. You talking about him?
Yeah. I mean, he was playing that Swiss guy that you literally just named, and whose name?
Leandro Riedi.
Riedi. They were playing, and there was a retirement like very early on at like 5-2 in the first set. So this was actually a non-match. So not the best way to get that big breath through, but at the same time, when you're ranked that low, you probably don't really care. It's like, let me just get my money and my second week appearance.
That's literally what he said in his press conference. He was like, I feel like I'm deserving of a bit of luck after the last few years I've had. I don't know why he's assuming that we know what years he's had. Like, bro, you can't just reference that. But yeah, he's the second qualifier into the 4th round. Is he? No. Someone else made it far. Oh, Coleman Wong, yeah.
Struff?
Oh, yeah, okay. Blimey.
Yeah. He qualifies Struff. And I mean, he'll play...
Alex de Minaur, who also won via retirement against Daniel Altmaier.
Yeah. But he was, I guess, academy controlled by that point. But yeah.
But you don't know when he was injured from.
Yeah, that's true, yes.
Don't speak negatively on Daniel Altmaier, especially not as a Sinner fan.
Yeah, I mean, I won't. And I was really impressed with the one point I saw from him, which is the underarm serve he hit against Tsitsipas.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those. Domino should. That's really the match you would expect him to win. And
he really is the Pegula of the men.
Yeah, that smells like a free quarterfinal. He will be there.
Yeah. Although, yeah, some notes on this section. So the first one is that the Tsitsipas Altmaier match had a bit of drama. This US Open has had like too much drama, way too much drama. One of them was this, and this actually was quite overlooked, that Tsitsipas kind of almost tried to get in a fight with Altmaier at the end. He lost in 5 sets from 2 sets to 1 up. Not a great way to go out. I'm sure he was in a pretty bad mood. And then at the net said, what was it? He said, was he annoyed about not apologising for a net cord?
No, it was about the underarm serve.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. You hit underarm serves and then you
like
wonder why but then he said you wonder why I'm hitting balls at you or something like that.
Yeah.
Because Tsitsipas, when someone's at the net, he likes to aim at them, and everyone always says it's non-malicious, it's just a tactic. He's kind of proved them wrong right here.
That's true, yeah.
But also it's a contradiction because he does it to anyone, so it's not because Altmaier hit an underarm serve.
It's ridiculous. And actually, I liked how Altmaier handled that. She literally like got away from him with like, whatever. I don't actually care to fight with you right now. Like, you lost. Goodbye. He's like,
I'm an adult man, so I'm going to walk away from this situation because you're being weird. But unfortunately, I mean, how lucky must Alex de Minaur be feeling? Because this fella takes out Tsitsipas and then retires against him, and like de Minaur hates the Tsitsipas matchup. He
did the job for him.
Which is why I picked Tsitsipas to go through this section. The other piece, also drama. Also, this one has made it huge on the internet. Kamil Majrzak is currently the most famous Polish tennis player in the world because at the end of his 5-set win against Khachanov, he tried to give a cap to a child. And then some old man next to the child stole the cap off, from Kamil's hands. And absolutely everyone has now have an opinion on this. I mean, I've seen like NBA pages that post like those silly science girl videos, reposting this clip, being like, "Let's find the man." All this kind of
pretty silly stuff.
I think the internet needs to be turned off during the US Open.
Yes, it's the least interesting piece of drama that we've had by far.
The cap one.
Yeah. Well,
you think so?
The other are like, I guess, more serious and more, and they say more and there is more to say. It's just like, okay, that's kind of embarrassing from a grown man, but also I don't know this man, so how much am I actually supposed to feel? Okay, that's this random grown man in the New York crowd was.
He's a Polish CEO. Did you not see the statement he released?
I did see that.
He released a statement saying, it's good to teach the child a lesson.
Why do I have a statement from him? Like,
because he's a CEO. I think this is funny because I think it's ridiculous. This happens all the time, by the way. Adults are always like fighting kids for free stuff. Like someone will be like fighting a child for like Clara Townsend's towel. It happens all the time. For some reason, this one made it big. The guy who tried to steal the cap is insane. Everyone reacting to it is insane. I'm finding this funny, actually.
Okay.
The fact it's Kamil Majrzak, and everyone is calling him a tennis star.
He was apparently interviewed by The Sun after his retirement last. So the person from The Sun was like, "Oh, we have to get him to speak," and he played like for 50 minutes, and you were like, "Okay, well."
Oh god. Yeah, I mean. A nice week for him though, because he beat Khachanov from 2 sets to love down, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, this section's a bit of a shit show. Another fallout from the washed generation's failure to be even medium levels of good. Anyway, the winner of that will play the winner of Rublev Auger-Aliassime. So really a great chance for Felix to do something, and a great chance for Rublev to make it past the quarterfinal. Wouldn't that be if he beat all those players, he'd be into the semis?
Yeah, that's true. He needs to beat Felix and probably de Minaur.
Actually, that's de Minaur would beat him.
Yeah, it's probably more doable than most of his quarterfinals, which are usually like Djokovic or Nadal. But far from a guarantee either way.
Onto the bottom half, where the first little matchup is Djokovic against Jan-Lennard Struff. Fairly straightforward so far for Djokovic, despite some bad play. Did you watch any of him? What's your takeaways?
Yes, I watched some of him. I mean, he doesn't even look that bad to me. He seems
really?
a bit. It's basically, for me, it seems to be about his physicality. Like, he has moments when, he looks tired or whatever, and he has to take a medical timeout, and it's a bit edgy for like a few, maybe like 20 minutes, and then he still finds a way. He relies on his serve, which has been tremendous actually. The famously not underrated Djokovic serve. It's probably even better this week. So just seeing that from him actually makes me think he probably has what it takes to make that eternal semi-final. But yeah, and yeah, so yeah, I would actually back him for that reason, and also because that Tiafoe round 4 match probably at night would have been a banana skin that he doesn't have to go through, because Tiafoe was kind of demolished by Struff.
Yeah. So Djokovic already lost a set to Zachary Svider, the American qualifier, and a set to Cam Norrie. Famously, notably, no sets lost to Lerner Tien, the most underrated, overrated player. Everyone's been telling us how great he is all year. Yeah, he's just as good as Fonseca, and then he comes out and does that. What happened with Djokovic? Because he was like, it feels like it happened very quickly, this physical
I don't
demise.
think it's even one thing. I don't think he actually hurt something. I think it's about the fact that he hasn't played much, and he.
Do you really think that he needs to be like playing more week to week?
It's kind of, if it's not playing, it's probably like preparing more or like differently than what he does, because it's this weird thing where he doesn't want to play Masters because they are way too long, and he's focusing on the slams. But unless it's in Australia, when he turns up at a slam without having played anything in like a month or so, he tends to play pretty bad and to be physically a bit shaky. So probably something that he might want to figure out, but it's not like he's losing, so I guess it's also not that bad either.
I do think this, though. I said this for a while. The 38, that's the magic number. Age 38 is where the physical decline, and again, this is in terms of elite athletes, it just goes like that. I really think, like, no one has really been able to do it past that age. That's been when they've started to... Djokovic, Federer was 39 in the Wimbledon final, or 38?
Probably 38.
38, okay. We'll check that. So, something about this, it feels like that's the moment where they do start declining, because I think in 2023 season he looked pretty much perfect physically. There were some bits here and there, but now it's really shocking how much it affects him and how old he looks. I mean, I'm starting to see grey hair.
Maybe that will be the time to retire when the
Lego wig is changed to a grey one.
Yes, exactly.
We kind of were expecting a matchup with Frances Tiafoe. If not Tiafoe, then Holger Rune. But qualifier Jan-Lennard Struff has beaten all of them. Rune in 5 sets. Again, a match Rune shouldn't have been losing. And then Tiafoe in straight sets, which when I looked at it at first, I was like, what's going on? But then I realised Tiafoe is the worst returner in history. And Struff is a very good serve. Yeah,
and it's also, I mean, Tiafoe complained about it quite a lot, which I do think is a bit silly. But he was placed on grandstand in a day session. That's kind of the opposite vibes of what he would want at the US Open. You know, he's the guy who's put on Ash or even on Armstrong at night, and it's this whole thing. You know, he's very famous there. You know, far more than anywhere else, and that's always where he gets his best career results. But here he was, not on a small court, but on the third biggest court on day session, and he really couldn't get anything going. And that's also a lot to do with Struff, who is this kind of like unit of a player with like huge weapons. Doesn't probably one of the worst movers in the top 100, but when the weapons are on, it's really hard to stop him. It's you must probably return better than what Jaffa did for.
And it's a vibe killer, those big servers as well.
Yeah.
So because they can just they just roll through one service game and it gets a bit dull, and I can imagine.
And then there's one opportunity and it's an ace, and it's like, okay, the moment is gone. Yeah.
Yeah, take that, Elena Rybakina. Your game's boring. So Djokovic will play Struff. How do we see that going? I mean, in the past you'd think that's free eats, but because of the return falling off so much,
it's still good enough, I think.
I mean, he'd take it for a fourth round.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, he takes that any day, and it's probably close enough to that semi-final when like he would really want to get there, and he'll probably start looking better too.
Yeah. So the winner of that will play the winner of the fourth round match between Thomas Mahatch and Taylor Fritz, which I very much did expect to happen if Mahatch didn't retire. Good little run from Mahatch. He beat Luca Nardi in straight sets, Fonseca in straight sets, and then some French guy I've literally just never heard of before, Blanchette.
Same, actually. I tend to at least know the names, but yeah, they kind of made him up, and he qualified, so he wasn't actually a wild card, so well done.
Yeah, it's a very qualifier heavy actually. These sort of third rounds. Ugo? Yeah. Ugo Blanchette. So Mahatch to the fourth round without dropping a set, despite playing the kind of tricky Fonseca match. And he'll play Fritz, who has dropped quite a few sets, because he dropped a set to always ever underrated Lloyd Harris and another qualifier, Kim? Some Swiss guy? Who is that?
So Swiss are everywhere suddenly. I don't
Do you know what his name is?
No.
Could you give a guess? It begins with a J.
No.
Okay. Jerome Kim.
Right. Yes.
Fritz played 4 sets against him. He's probably a serve bot.
Yeah, you would think so, because that really felt like a serve-dominated match.
Yeah, so thoughts on the Mahatch-Fritz match?
Really exciting, actually. Mahatch is great fun when he's playing well, which he hadn't been doing for the past 6 months. I don't know if you remember, we were really high on him in Australia, and we were expecting all these big things for him, and we had him making his breakthrough at the top 20 or whatever. I probably not on anymore.
He's seeded 21.
He's going to drop a bunch of points.
Right, but I think he must have made the top 20 at some point.
Really?
I think so.
Okay. Then that prediction came good, which is good for us, I guess. But
he did win Acapulco. I think that's pretty good.
Sure, but that was also in February, and everyone was ill. So
yeah, but in terms of we said season for him. Yeah, he's had a good season.
That was.
You're good. So harsh.
Yeah, I mean, good in January and February, and then nothing until September. I think that's pretty rough.
He was injured.
Yeah, I guess that's unfortunate. But I saw him actually playing at Wimbledon, and I was not impressed.
You weren't impressed?
Maybe he was still injured, but yeah, he was pretty bad. But now he's playing great again, so time to get excited about him once more. And given the way that Fritz hasn't been flawless recently, you would expect that to be a really tight match, and honestly, if Mahatch wins that, it's not shocking, I don't think.
Yeah, I picked him to win that match as well before. I really, really think he will. I think there would have to be a great Fritz performance or a bit of a dud from Mahatch for him to not win that match. That's
also a bit of a concern. I don't know if you remember when he played Djokovic this year at AO, and the slam before that when he played, I think it was Draper at the US Open quarterfinals. A complete no-show. in both of those matches, when it's like, how do you even get there? What's going on? Like, it's probably like some big match nerves or whatever, but to that extent, it really was shocking. So I'm a bit scared about that. But on paper and with the way he's been playing, that should be a good match.
I think he'll be okay. I think it's early enough, and it's Taylor Fritz. He doesn't have the aura.
Did Draper have that aura?
Yeah, but then it was because it was late on.
I guess.
I trust him. His career high is 20. But I picked him to make the top 10 at the end of the year, which I don't
did you?
think is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Just because, I mean, look at the state of it. Khachanov is 10th.
Yeah.
He is the number 3 Czech player, though, which means there's a lot of Czech boys doing quite well.
Yeah, so there's Lehečka and Menchik.
Yeah, so actually, give me a prediction for this match, because I think it's quite an interesting one.
3-5.
I'm going to say Mahatch in 4. Also, give me a prediction for Rublev. Roger Alissim.
Roger Alissim in 4.
Okay. I'm going to say... I'm going to say Rublev in 5. I don't want it to happen, but...
I can see it.
Speaking of Lehečka, he's in the next section. He'll play Adrian Manarino for a spot in the quarterfinals. He'd take that.
Any day of the week. And to be fair, as far as like comfortable and kind draws this late into a tournament, Manarino is actually pretty awkward. So it's not like, ooh, I'm so happy, I'm so excited to be playing Manarino. You know, it's the most unique player in men's tennis, like by far, with like trampoline racket strings and just looking at. It's so funny. I know how he plays. You know, he's been around for so long. But I was watching him against Shelton. It's still so striking just how different he is, and just it's not even like specific thing he does. It's just literally him hitting ground strokes feels so novel and strange.
He very much looks like a club player. There are those players that people look at. It was what was that name of that lady who used to wear the leggings? Madison. What's her name? Brengel. He's like the male Brengel of like, you look at him and you're like, that guy should be at a tennis club. He's got his like loose, nondescript clothing and his little bald head, and he's kind of strolling around the court and all that. I can imagine actually the Shelton match was hilarious to watch the difference there, because you've got this guy who's like body like a Greek god, and he's like thrashing around the court, and his sweat's going everywhere because of the on clothing, and there's celebrities watching him, and he's yes all the time. And then Manarino just kind of like, I'm also here. I guess I'm here.
What else am I going to do?
But they got a little rivalry going on.
That's true, and it was actually a really fun and entertaining match until Shelton kind of like really hurt his left elbow.
He served too close to the sun.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, it's a shoulder. It was a shoulder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the elbow. No, yeah, my bad. Yeah, it's shoulder, and it felt really sudden. You know, it's suddenly he was in this point, and he hit a forehand, and you could see his face literally twisting in pain in that moment. And it's like, ooh, that looks really bad.
Like the Dimitrov one.
Yeah, that vibe. But he still played through a set. He was doing his best Nikolescu impression, slicing a bunch of forehands and whatnot, and had to retire because obviously that didn't work out. So yeah, that's really unfortunate. You know, I and a bunch of other people I see were really looking forward to that Shelton Alcaraz match. Shelton was looking really good throughout the event, and now that match just isn't happening. So yeah, pretty sad.
And he was really gutted, I think, especially to retire in New York at the US Open. Like, yeah.
So that was his best form yet, and the place where you would expect him to really show up just couldn't because his body broke down.
Yeah, so Manarino, a beneficiary of Shelton's retirement, will play Lehečka, a beneficiary of the washed Jen, because I watched and was very impressed by Casper Ruud until he lost to Raphael Collignon, who I was like, okay, maybe this guy's really, really good then, because I'm watching Ruud, I'm feeling impressed, and Kolignon's just beaten him in 5.
Yeah.
And then he gets a beat down by Lehechka. So again, a lot of these sections have fallen apart either because of the next gen being completely washed or because of retirements. It feels like every other player has been affected by one of those.
And there are just so many injuries, at this stage in the season. It's like every single match.
We need to settle this, right? Because someone, I think it was Pam Shriver, tweeted that it's our job to settle this. Pam Shriver tweeted that, you got to go away from best of 5 because all these players are getting injured, these men. And then there was a bit of a reaction to that because lots of people were saying it's not because of the best of 5, it's because they're playing 700 weeks before this tournament because all of the Masters are 2 weeks long and all of there's mandatory tournaments every second. Where do you stand?
I mean, best of 5 has been around forever, and yet I don't think the US Open used to be this like graveyard where people go to play and get injured and retired. So that's a pretty strong argument in favor of looking at the calendar and looking at the length of those events and rethinking all of that, more so than best of 5, which, I mean, I guess it probably would help a little if it wasn't best of 5, but I don't know, actually. Like, sometimes these guys get injured and they really feel it by like a third set, which could still happen if it was best of 3. So
yeah, I'm going to add another layer into that because I agree. I think best of 5 is not to blame, and that if the calendar were reasonable, we'd still be able to keep the best of 5 and it'd be pretty much totally fine. You still get some injuries, of course, but not quite at this scale. I'm wary about just how athletic some of these guys are now and the way they're playing. I remember that spell, was it in early 2023 when Alcaraz kept being injured, and then there was lots of people saying, and actually people have said this about Nadal a while ago, but people were saying Alcaraz's game is not sustainable. Like, just how he plays, how much he throws himself about and runs around and fights for every ball, you can't keep that for 50 weeks a year or however many weeks they play. And I think that some of these younger guys, they have that, where it's their game's so explosive that the impact is more likely. I mean, you watch Shelton serve and you're like, how does that not hurt every time? Like, how does your shoulder not pop out every time? The way he goes after that and he like jumps up for it and whips his arm through the ball. I think that there is an additional layer of this, how athletic the sport is now, to consider. I don't think that getting rid of best of 5 is the fix, though. I think that the whole calendar has to be looked at. But I think that you maybe can't model how we build it now from how it was then, because I think the way people play is different.
Yeah.
And of course, like the slowing down of the courts, all this kind of stuff, everyone is better at defending and moving, so they're playing probably longer rallies but hitting the ball harder throughout those rallies. That's my I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and I definitely would rather get rid of 2-week Masters than best of 5.
Absolutely.
Not much more to say on this section. I think it was a pretty boring one at the start. Did you go big on a Ruud prediction because you were impressed by his mixed doubles?
I had him at like losing fourth round, which didn't work out, but also didn't have him in the semis or anything.
It wasn't huge, but he still couldn't quite make it there.
Yes, that's true.
The final section is a match between Artur Rinderknecht and Alcaraz. Thoughts on that?
I mean, if I don't have anything to say about Alcaraz, Medvedev's first slam, that actually means he's doing amazing. I barely watched any of him because every time I would look at the score, it was like, oh, he's fully in control and he's winning. He's barely losing games. So there's definitely something more interesting going on. Which, I mean, I guess a lot of people would rather watch him thrash people because he's that entertaining. But as far as like looking at the tournament as a whole, there is always something else to me that is more interesting because I Alcaraz is thrashing people and that's what he should be doing at this stage, and I don't expect him to expect that to change really against Rinderknecht, who is good, good server, good forehand, really strong aggression, can play at the net and whatnot.
Sinner's hardest opponent in Roland Garros.
That's true, and also is really kind of on a roll since maybe like the late spring. So, but still, given the way Alcaraz is playing, you would expect him to win that in very straightforward set as well. So.
He beat our two Italians that we always get confused back to back, Mattia Bellucci and Luciano Darderi.
Yeah.
I think this is a very straightforward fourth round for Alcaraz. Some players in here, probably not Alcaraz himself, but they were the beneficiary of Medvedev's meltdown and subsequent loss to Benjamin Bonzi, back-to-back slam first rounds that Medvedev has lost to Benjamin Bonzi, which I don't find surprising, but some people, and maybe Medvedev himself, do find surprising. This was maybe the biggest drama, maybe the second biggest drama of the tournament so far, in a very packed field. Did you watch it happen?
No, I was sleeping, but I obviously watched a lot of points, and I know what happened basically from like the structure of the match. And I mean, the loss isn't surprising, of course. Literally lost to him same round, one slam ago. So you don't find the result itself shocking, but it's the whole thing, like the way he behaved in that match. So let's actually go through it. So he was getting thrashed by Bonzi, basically. Was down 2 sets, and Bonzi was serving for it at 5-4. Has match point on his serve. Should be really straightforward to finish that match off. And so he goes out to serve. He misses his first serve. A photographer walks onto court looking to, I think, move into another section or something. I don't actually know what he was actually trying to do. But Bonzi hadn't actually noticed, but the umpire, Greg Allensworth, called it out and was like, "Oh, move, be quick," or whatever. And then went on to give Bonzi another first serve because there was a short interruption between his first and what would have been his second serve. So he does that, and Medvedev loses his shit and goes up to Allensworth and starts calling him out and going to, there are mics like close to the chair going, he's paid by the match, not by the hour, he just wants to go home or whatever. So implying that he made that call because he just wanted Bonzi to finish the match off.
What did Riley Opelka say?
Yeah.
What did Riley Opelka say?
And just really like aggressive and the whole thing. And the crowd live for it, of course, because of course they do. And they start booing, kissing, and that ends up actually interrupting the match literally for 6 minutes, that's enormous. I don't know if people realize how uncommon that is. And every time Bonzi would obviously try to serve, they would get even louder. So he didn't. Honestly, in hindsight, I think he should actually served, and they would have shut up. But I understand him not wanting to actually do that. And
he's just a wee nice guy as well.
Yeah, and that disturbed Bonzi, of course. He double faulted, lost that game, lost the set, and then the next set, 6-love. So at this point, it looks like Medvedev has turned this around completely in a very short amount of time. And Bonzi was actually starting to look hampered physically. And yet they play a fifth, Bonzi wins it, and at the end all you have is not only a bad loss from Medvedev, of course, but also just a repulsive attitude throughout the match. So it was not only that whole thing with the umpire, where honestly you can discuss was he actually that mad, or was this just about him trying to change the match, the rhythm of the match, not with his game, but with the help of the crowd, because he knew he wasn't winning otherwise. I honestly think some of it was calculated. The way if he wanted them to shut up and wanted to just serve right away, he would have tried to calm it down and have him serve, and that's obviously what he didn't do, and he blamed the crowd for it entirely after. But that's one thing, and there is also the way he was mimicking Bonzi's celebrations, which is something he's done before, which I also find pretty pathetic. And then also, I actually think this was under-discussed. He was like mimicking blowjobs, actually, at different points.
That was really lame. I don't know why people weren't talking about it.
Yeah, it's actually appalling, I'm genuinely, this is like the angriest a player has made me in quite a long time.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I was furious, and he kept piling onto it because then I saw his press conference stuff, and it's like, oh, fuck off. Honestly, like you
I
lost.
didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Benjamin Bonzi should have got fined because he was getting coached throughout the match. Like, this is an adult man with 2 children.
Genuinely, like, I have no time for it. Some people found it fun, good for them, I guess. It's the whole thing is just miserable and pathetic.
Yeah, very pathetic.
Yeah, I was usually on the side of, oh, because Medvedev is kind of unique and interesting, I hope he'll find some form and find himself again. Honestly, not now that it has happened, I'm like, you're probably done, and maybe it's for the best.
Yeah, so lame. And it was very reminiscent of how Kyrgios, like, intentionally stirs up drama when he's not doing well enough, and he wants to kind of... I think some of it isn't actually that so that they have an excuse for why they lost the match. It's, it's because I got point penalty because this guy was unfair and this happened, and then it's because I got frustrated and lost my focus. They do it on purpose so that they can then have, like, a crutch. It happens to sometimes throw off their opponent so they can get back in the match. But yeah, very, very lame behaviour, and I'm pretty surprised. I don't know. No, maybe not surprised. I think Medvedev's always been like this, but it's like getting more extreme the worse he does, and the more he feels that he needs to kind of play up. But it's like often after he had these sort of fits or whatever, he'll go into press afterwards and be like, yeah, that was pretty silly, or that was in the heat of the moment, and a little bit of a kind of, I will try and do better and, like, reflect on it, and that's not really who I am. But there was none of that this time. And also the fact that he's never improved his behaviour. These guys just, there's nothing to be done.
And he just split with his very long time coach. I don't know if you feel that.
Yeah.
So that's over. And maybe his career is here as well.
Yeah.
Who
that
knows?
is a question I wanted to pose to you, because we've had two early losses for Ruud, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, Zverev as well, actually. And specifically on Medvedev, Tsitsipas and Ruud. Do you think this is it? Or do you think any of them will ever get back in the top 10? Or do you think that's it? It's kind of...
Ruud feels like more of a question mark for me still. Because, I mean, technically he literally has 1,000 from this year. So...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you'd think on clay, if there is an opportunity, he might still be able to take advantage of that. And Tsitsipas and Medvedev, I really do feel really down about, like, this really might be it, actually.
Wow. It happens so quickly. It's interesting because, like, Ruud, I think Medvedev was the best, and then Tsitsipas and Ruud in that order. But in terms of where their careers are looking, Ruud looks closest to be in the top 10. Medvedev, it looks like you don't know what will have to happen for that to change. Because, again, he hasn't won a title since Rome in 2023. Which is just crazy. Yeah, I think I agree. I think same thing. I think maybe Tsitsipas could have a bit of a career resurgence later on when he's, I don't know, maybe 30 or something like that, just because of the talent and the shot making ability. But I don't know if it'll be enough to get him back into the top 10. Yeah, that's kind of what's happened so far. Anything else that's anyone? Oh, I did want to ask anyone who's impressed you. This is like the first time you've been impressed by them.
Oh, I was about to say Maharaj, but no, that's not the first time. Who has been like surprisingly good? I mean, I guess it's the first slam second week for Indraknesh, so
Okay.
I guess that's pretty big for him, I'm sure.
Okay.
But beyond that, no, I mean, so people here who are in the quarters, I mean, I've been impressed by Struve before, like just with those big weapons and his ability to create like some commotion, some upsets. I guess I'm kind of excited. I'm interested to see what Krejcikova does here.
I don't
just
think much.
Yeah, I mean, Alcaraz quarterfinals is pretty rough. So, but still, he hasn't made many slam quarters. Maybe he hasn't made one yet.
I think he made one in Australia when he beat Felix in 2023.
That did happen, yeah. But he isn't like a customer, of those. So, I guess him.
Okay. Mine is probably okay. Maybe I framed it wrong because it's not for the first time. But I was super impressed by Kaboli. I think even he played 5 sets against Jensen Brooksby, which I think that's a tough opponent. But yeah, I loved what I saw against him. There's 2 slams in a row where I felt that way. So yeah. Well, let's go on to the women's then. I guess I think that's quite enough on the men's first week and like the next matches. In the women's, we'll start at the top. Number 1 seed Sabalenka will play Christina Buchser in her 4th round match. Very kind 4th round, I suppose you'd say.
I mean, that's about honestly about as good as it gets, I think, for Sabalenka. I mean, I was Buchser, she seemed really excited, and I was like, I found her really endearing after that win in the 3rd round. She really seemed so happy to make this run, and it is a breakthrough run for her in many ways. But yeah, as far as a draw for Sabalenka, you really take that any day of the week easily.
It's a bit of a first round draw, really.
Yeah.
It's strange because like Sabalenka's draw, every round has gotten easier. So Towson lost in the 1st round. Okay, fine, but then you might have to face Iala. Iala then lost, and now fine, you might have to face Elise Mertens, and she lost. So you've now got probably like the 7th trickiest player in that section.
Yeah.
To face. So yeah, and what about Sabalenka herself? I haven't watched much of her because I think she's mostly been at night.
Yeah, same. But from what I'm gathering, she isn't playing like great. But she's playing well enough to, when the set is tight and when she's maybe not playing that well, she finds a way to get to a tiebreak, and that's really been her saving grace. She knows that when she does get there, she wins like all of them. So that's 18 or 19 in a row now, and she does play a tiebreak every single match. So it's becoming probably a bit of a cheat code. Like I wonder what would happen if she reached a tiebreak that she lost. Then would she collapse? What would happen? I guess I find that a bit curious, but yeah.
I have a guess. I think somewhere in her she's realised that she can kind of just sit back, hold her serve, and then rely on a tiebreak. And sometimes it's less effort than having to. If it's not just like flowing through you easily, it's less effort than having to kind of actually really find your level and break her serve. I reckon if she lost a tiebreak, it would be a bit of a wake-up call, and I think her next set she'd play really well. She might not win it because she might be playing a player who's like good enough to beat her, but I think the tiebreak thing is a bit of almost laziness. Like, it seems weird to say because I think she's a very, very hard worker, and I don't think she's lazy, but I feel like she's been a little bit
complacent,
unmotivated for a while. It's ever since that Rome match. Do you remember?
Again, Chinwen, she kind of
it
threw
was
that.
like, and I've noticed every now and then it feels a little bit like I don't want to have to give 110% of myself. Yeah. And
I guess especially in early slam matches, because she never loses those like at all anymore. So she's like, well, can probably get away with this for a while.
Yeah.
And I guess she's right. I mean, I don't think she's in any trouble in this fourth round. But yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah, she'll like that. But her quarterfinal could be very, very tricky because it's that probably what I would consider to be the section of death. In here, you had all of Rybakina, Raducanu, Kessler, Vondrousova. Actually, there's loads of players who are fairly good in here because even Iva Jovic, who everyone apparently says is great, Paulini, Kudermetova, all in this little section. But we've ended up with a fourth round between Elena Rybakina and Marketa Vondrousova. Two of, I think, the most impressive players on the women's side so far for different reasons, but both both impressive. What do you think about them?
Looking great, both of them really. I mean, Rybakina obviously, of course, impressed because that really kind of match was big match written all over it. It could be an upset, or at least could be another epic. She made sure this really wasn't anything that she feared or was like worried about. She showed up. I mean, it's funny because the way Raducanu, and I guess everyone was talking about that match, was like, oh, this was like peak Rybakina, this was like Brisbane level performance. It wasn't really. This was like 80%, 90% Rybakina when that's kind of her game, that she can do that. She can hit the ball like that, and she can serve and return in that way. But yeah, Raducanu just really didn't show up at all in that match, which I found actually pretty disappointing. But Rybakina, that's her good level, high, medium to good, and that can still get it done against someone who isn't playing that great, and that's what happened in that match. And overall, that maintains the trend of Rybakina being in good form. So yeah, really impressed with her, and especially actually impressed with Vondrousova, who
I think, just quickly on Rebecca, I think this is her second week at the US Open since 2019.
It is. No, it's her only.
Oh, really? Was it third round she lost in 2019?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, because I think that was the first time I really paid attention to her. Or yeah. And she'll play Vondrousova. This is the match.
Yeah.
I think of this round on the women's side.
Oh yeah, I think so.
On the top half.
Yeah.
Go on. What about Vondrousova? Because I think you have some apologies to make. Because you never ever pick her to do well, and you had her losing to Kessler, even though we watched that match at Wimbledon.
Yeah, that wasn't. When I don't pick her to do well, it's not really a diss on her or her level. It's, I guess, a diss on her famous unpredictability, which
I don't think she's that unpredictable. I think she's made of glass.
But that contributes to people not feeling that confident in her going into Slam, but body seems fine, and the game is especially great. That's my favorite match set of the tournament. That was set between her and Paolini. Just pretty amazing tennis from both, and Vondrousova just ended up having just a bit more and served great. Actually, she wasn't rallying that well early on, but her serve just kept getting out harder trouble, which happens sometimes. You wouldn't think so, but there have been a few matches this year when suddenly she's hitting like 10 aces. It's like, oh, who is that?
Greg feeling vindicated.
Yeah, he's like, okay, Kvitova. And yeah, but in that tiebreak she was just playing too well, managing rallies just so well, doing so many different things at like a super high level, and Berlin just ended up not being able to cope with that, and in the second she was kind of at loss with what she could do, and that ended up being a 6-1. So yeah, super impressed.
I think it felt like the second half of the Svitolina match at Roland Garros. Do you remember the Paolini Svitolina match?
Yeah, I do.
It was really good. Yeah, I think it was a similar. Was it not a tiebreak and then a one-sided final set?
Yes, yeah, I think it. Yeah, I think so, something like that.
Yeah, and I one thing that I really noticed from this match, which is interesting because obviously Vondrousova won it, and she won it in the end quite handily, and she's still yet to drop a set. She played 3 tie breaks but hasn't dropped a set. She really looks so underpowered against even Paolini, who for the majority of her career was not someone. She's not a ball basher, it's not where her talent comes from. She has become more powerful, but she's still not just an Ostapenko type.
Yeah, she wants to off the courts, probably.
Yeah, Vondrousova really looked like she was lacking power, and that she finds all of her points in other ways. And I don't know. That's the first time it's stood out quite so much, and it almost makes me feel. I get a little bit squeamish watching her because I just think sometimes I'm worried about the weakness of her of her shots, like her being literally overpowered in hits off the court, because obviously we know all the talent and the skills that she has.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think she's playing super well. She's already played decent opponents in each round to make it to the Rybakina match. How do you see that going?
I'll back Rybakina, I think, because mostly the form is overall better, I think, and I do think sometimes when Vondrousova is up against like someone super powerful, she can get a bit discouraged. Like when it's just winner after winner, sometimes you can see like her shoulders slumping a little, and you think, can you actually pull this off? And sometimes she can actually, but it's not I don't think it's a preferred matchup, even though she has tools, she has things she can do to disturb that rhythm and make it awkward and get Rybakina to come into the net or things like that. But I think Rybakina is playing well enough to kind of eat through either way.
I know I agree with this, and I think like logically I would agree. I find it so hard to see how Rybakina wins this match though. Like it's just a difficult thing for me to. I really feel like Vondrousova is going to win it. We'll have to see how she returns, because I do think her return is like shockingly underrated. I think she's a great returner, and if she can really bother Rybakina with the length on those returns, there's also the length that she hits with. That Paolini match, the depth was crazy, and I think one reason people struggle to see what Vondrousova does so well is because so much of her quality comes from hitting with consistent depth, which is not a glossy, it's not a flashy skill, but it's so useful and it can really trouble players. So we'll see how.
And I mean, if her own serve is still on, maybe that's kind of bothersome for Rybakina as well. So we'll see.
Could be a great match. Could be one-sided. But then Sabalenka will be playing the winner of that. So she'll probably be rooting for Vondrousova, but. We'll see. The next section, we've got Jessica Pegula against Anne Lee. Don't ask how that happened, because I don't know. It's got to feel good for Pegula after her bad form.
She saw the podcast. She was like, "Oh, they're calling me old and finished, and now I'm going to prove them wrong by making an 80th quarterfinal."
I'm going to prove them wrong by taking down huge names such as 39-year-old Victoria Azarenka and Anne Lee.
Actually, I do think she's playing well.
Okay.
No, it's true.
Vika sort of had her there in that second set, but she's just there was a bit of like, even I'm not old enough to lose to you. Like you're even older than me.
And it's just when they are breaking serve like every other game, you actually back Pegula to end up finishing that off, I think, which she did. So I do think Pegula is actually playing well enough actually to just feel, especially confident.
Well enough to beat Anne Lee. That's a big statement.
High bar, I know. But it's. I do think it probably feels really good actually after doubting really her level, which even though it's not against great opposition, that's still when you lose to Sevastova in 3 sets, you can be worried against literally every opponent she's faced. So, and she's dealt with them pretty well.
Bencic was like the seed that she was due to face, and she lost to Anne Lee. Like I just can't imagine how that could happen. Like. US Open courts feel like good courts for Bencic.
You would think so, but her form kind of collapsed after Wimbledon. So.
Okay. Regardless of that result, I do think Pegula's going to struggle in the next round, though, because she has an unseeded 4th round of Krejcikova against Taylor Townsend, but absolutely not a few players that you would want to see. Pegula's lost to Townsend at least once and maybe twice.
Once in Rome.
I don't think she likes that matchup. As I always say, when Pegula faces someone with talent, she loses, and Taylor Townsend is very much a person with talent. And then if it's not Taylor Townsend, it's Krejcikova, who. Fuck me, I'm not playing Krejcikova in the quarterfinals of a slam. No, thank you.
Yeah, no. That's big danger there. Honestly, if it comes down to it against Townsend, I would back Pegula still.
If Taylor Townsend beats Krejcikova, she's in great form.
Krejcikova could have like a disaster performance.
She won't. She never does that after winning like 3 matches in a row.
Maybe not, but there is always a physical side of things. I don't know, but yeah, just on her, Krejcikova, really great run. I mean, I don't think many players have played as many good players as she has to get to that fourth round. She beat Mboko in the first round, which honestly was possible, but we were doubting her physical shape, which I mean, it's not like it was unfair to do. She literally had a fit injury thing in Cincinnati, but yeah, she won that in 2 sets really easily. Actually, Mboko probably still not over the wrist thing she sustained in Montreal, and then had pretty big tussle against Navarro, avenging her loss from Wimbledon, and not always convincing from Krejcikova that much. She had spells where she was all over the place, like just dropping everything out, and it's funny when she's not playing well, it's out in like every direction. It's into the nets, it's it's missing right, it's missing long, it's everything.
Was it she was down like 3 or 4 love? She was down quite a lot in the first set, right? Maybe 5.
She was down in the first, kind of came back to lose it only by 4-6, and down 3 love in the third set, and she won like 6 of the next 7 games or something.
A vintage Krejcikova scam.
I know, but whenever actually she found a different gear and actually started playing well, she was super impressive. And Navarro just, it's not like she played bad at any point really. So the match was always on Krejcikova's racket, and Navarro was honestly kind of a spectator of those different like gears and moods that Krejcikova had.
It feels like there was a 3-set match Navarro played against someone at a hardcourt slam. It was either Australia this year or US Open last year.
Badosa.
Was it that? No, it wasn't that. I'm going to have to look it up because there was something that it felt really similar to, reminiscent of, where I was watching her, I was like, she's quite good. Yeah. I think on the point of Krejcikova missing, the experience of watching her ground strokes, they're so smooth. Like, it's a really committed motion from start to finish on every stroke, that when it goes out, it looks so embarrassing because it's like, you're really committed to that. I think Samsonova has a similar thing.
Yeah.
It's all one motion. When it starts landing in, it's like, wow. Like, and there's so much power behind it because it's, you know, like I said, everything moves in all together. I don't know if I'm expressing how I see it, but
the timing is great when it's in.
Yeah. And it's that commitment, I think. When you watch it, it feels like a committed shot. So, you know, when you watch Rebecca play, I've said this before, when she hits a forehand, it looks like she's asking a question. It's like maybe?
I guess.
And it doesn't really affect the quality of the shot most of the time, but it still does look like she's not really sure. Krejcikova's the opposite of that. And then also, like, she doesn't get affected by her misses, which kind of, I think that helps play into that.
Yeah. I mean, thank God. If she was, she would have lost that much in like 1 hour. But yeah.
Yeah. So Krejcikova Townsend. Someone said they're playing for Sinyakova's heart.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and Taylor Townsend, great run through. Do you
Story
want
of
to
the
talk
tournament,
through?
maybe.
Sorry.
Story of the tournament, sort of.
Yeah. Would you put her drama number 1?
In terms of like the attention task gathered, yeah, I think you have to put it there. But I was actually more frustrated and annoyed with Medvedev, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't fun, but in the power rankings of dramas, it's probably number 1.
Yeah. So let's explain it for the few people, honestly, basically no one, who don't know what happened. She was playing Ostapenko in the second round, and obviously the crowd was rooting for her, which is normal and expected. And Ostapenko, I think, basically played pretty bad tennis. And actually, I think it's not an easy matchup. Townsend has beaten her before, and it's those players who really can go after returns and who can serve well themselves, you always feel like if Ostapenko isn't on, that's really something the type of match she can lose, and she did. And salty Ostapenko handshake, which is also par for the course in many ways, but what I guess wasn't par for the course was the comments she made towards 2000 after the match, and she basically she said that she had, I think the words were, no class and no education, because so she was saying that, and I think the response was like, basically, you lost, you should be able to take that better, walk away or whatever. So she didn't actually engage with what Ostapenko said, which was actually also the right move, I think. And that kind of set the world ablaze, because obviously there are some implications to saying those words to a black woman in the United States, especially. So she then faced understandably some backlash for those comments from mostly social media, I think. And then she tried to like explain that she wasn't racist, but it was all about terms and like not respecting the like etiquettes of the sport, which also has some implications.
Yeah,
you could read into. So not a good look in any way, really. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think the tricky thing is that the racism is so layered, and the thing like, oh, I'm talking about it from a sporting perspective, that still has racist and classist implications. But a lot of the tennis players won't see it like that. They'll think, oh no, it's just a pure tennis thing. You're meant to do this and you're meant to behave in this way, and I'm only talking about it from a tennis perspective. Whereas that's not completely like that's not disjointed from the world and society as a whole.
Yeah.
There's a very tricky dynamics of Europeans and like, let's be honest, Europeans who probably aren't like, they're not academics, tennis players on the most part. They're probably not reading all about the history of places and
microaggressions.
I don't think, microaggressions, and it's a shame that they don't know about that. And there's probably something to be done in such a worldwide international sport, something to be done to help people understand a bit better about these things. But they're not gonna. Like Ostapenko will probably have an idea about what racism is, and maybe she knows less than she should. Maybe she knows more than she pretends to. I don't know, but she's never gonna have a sufficiently nuanced understanding on it. And I think that's like almost everyone is the same way. Actually, most people think they get what racism is, or what classism is, or what misogyny is, but actually almost everyone is missing some elements of it, doesn't understand some bits of it, will say some things aren't racist when they probably actually are.
Yeah. And
they have their own biases. So yeah, it's like, I am on the side that she shouldn't say that. Of course she shouldn't say that, and she should understand, she should be told the implications of saying that. Like that education process is useful, but of course it went to shit on social media. Of course. I think like Naomi and Coco's responses in the press conference were both really good, and like some element of understanding that if it had been a white American player who said that, that deserves more outrage, because there's no excuse for not knowing the implications of that. It's your first language. You will have grown up surrounded by these topics, and what those words imply is a little bit different when it's European, but still there needs to be better, more education, I guess, more understanding.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's just about Ostapenko like putting just saying whatever after a loss one too many times, and the whole discourse around it on social media is, especially from people who don't actually know who she is, and the fact that she does have a pretty well documented habit of saying shit to people at the net and being overall a really sore loser and always being really salty and, and making random things way bigger deals than they were. Like here, her thing was like, one time Taylor didn't apologize after a net court winner, which is like, whatever. And yeah, it's, and I guess
again she's salty by the loss. If she'd won that match, she wouldn't have brought it up.
Doesn't give a fuck at all. And I guess that's the one time she was actually given a lot of shit for it, which probably not even a bad thing, all things considered. So yeah.
That's the point that I was like, my takeaway was from this is that like lots of people were saying Ostapenko didn't mean it in that way, and she didn't mean it coming from that place. Fine, but is it a nice thing to say to anyone? And if you don't say mean things, you're probably not going to get yourself in these situations. Like if you just don't go up and say to people, you have no education and no class, which is a
respectful.
mean thing to say. Yeah, just be a little bit nicer, and then things will be fine. Yeah, I think that's
for sure.
It's kind of the ultimate thing. And again, like you said, if you go around and you say it to so many people, eventually you're going to come in a situation where it's more loaded than you intended it to be.
Yeah. But from the Townsend point of view, this actually became one of the stories of the tournament. And she's backing it up with her play and also with her responses to those comments, and she was really, really classy throughout all of it, made it about how her son how she would feel about her son seeing her react in those moments and hoping she would be proud of him, all of that. It's a really great look for her. And that's great, she reacted, I think, really, really well. Obviously, stood up for herself, and without, I just think her response was amazing, and people are really responding to it. She has gained a lot of followers, and her profile is really growing throughout this week, which is great.
Yeah, and she is. People have said it. She's one of the smartest players. She's a great job being a pundit. I think she's really interesting, and I always really, really, really like her. So yeah, I'm all for that, and I'm excited for that Krejcikova match, because as I understand, she was very, very good against Andreeva, who is still on not in a great place.
Yeah, I guess it's starting to become a bit of a slump.
Yeah, starting. That's the end of the top half. In the bottom half, the first fourth round match is Marta Kostic against Karolina Muchova. Neither of us had Muchova making it here because of the shaky form she showed in. Was it just Cincinnati? She lost to someone really, really bad.
Yeah, so she had some good matches, I think, maybe in Montreal. But then one just didn't seem all that convincing. Just in the past few months, because she had this wrist thing, you're never really sure about her two-handed backhand, so it's like, as good as she is, she's probably not good enough to just win 3 matches in those conditions. But actually, she somehow find a way, without surgery, to get her wrist to cooperate and let her hit through her backhand with like good consistency and good power. So she's back, maybe, kind of.
Maybe not quite 100% there. I think the inconsistency within matches is getting a little bit worse. So she opened against Venus Williams, and the start of that match was looking a little bit awkward, when the crowd starts making those noises of like, I think she went up 3-love quite quickly, and Venus hadn't really won a point yet. But then it turned into like quite a battle. It was 3 sets. Venus was as good as she's been in like 5 years, as I understand. So 3-set match there. She then played Sorana Castella in 3 very tight sets. Really had to work for that one. Castella does not give up. She went up a break in the 3rd set, and then had a huge long game on the Castella serve to get a double break. Castella saved a million break points, all with big first serves, and then held then there and immediately broke back, and we're back on serve. So that was a big battle. And then the Noskova match in the next round, where she came back from a set down against a very good player she could easily lose to, and fucking hell were they both playing badly for most of that match, especially the first set.
Yeah, it was really, a disaster. And at that point, she just sat down, and she has already played so many sets. It's like, ooh, doesn't look good, and yet still found the level, recovered, started serving better, and just doing everything pretty well. And it ended up being quite straightforward to set 2 and 3.
I was impressed by the Kostya and Noskova back-to-back mental performances. Yeah, because I think in that second set against Noskova, she just said, right, now I have to play well, just have to press on the gas just now. Whereas I think in other times in her career, she wouldn't have been in control of that. So, impressed by those. Again, like I think that the fact that she's played 3 3-set matches in a row, and it's Mukova, you feel like there's a ceiling on how far she's going to go.
Yeah, I guess you've got to be a bit scared of the physical thing. But at the end of the day, Kostic in the 4th round, it's not that bad, you know?
I don't love it as a matchup for her, though. Because she can cope with the tools.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And she's also really physical herself, usually.
So, yeah. We'll see how it goes. Mukova seems to like it here. She's defending back-to-back semi-finals, so...
It's becoming her best tournament, really.
Yeah, probably. The winner of that match, though, Kostyuk made it through she's had a nice draw. She opened against Bolter, which is tricky, but then Zeynep Sonmez and Diane Parry. This section, incidentally, is the one with Keys, who maybe we'll talk about at the end of the tournament, but she lost in a shocking first round match against Renata Zarazua. Also in here was Kvitova, so that happened.
Sure did.
We'll talk about that and the recap at the end, I guess, because those are kind of not important now. The winner of Kostyuk Mukova will play the winner of probably the match of the round. Is that a phrase?
I think so.
The match of the 4th round, Osaka against Goff.
Here we are.
Yeah.
It's exciting, first of all, because actually this has been my feeling overall about, I guess, this tournament, and especially this women's draw, is feeling like there's a lot of great matches that can be set up, and when they are set up, they end up being underwhelming, or they are not set up at all because someone has lost too early. So I've been, throughout the first week, I've been like, this tournament could be great, but it really isn't for now. So that's where my head has been. But now we have this match, which it's a lot about hype and excitement. And
storylines.
And more so than about them having like a great rivalry. They tend to play like pretty crap matches actually. But this is Osaka's second week since the second week of the last slam she won, I think, in 2021, the Australian Open. So first of all, that's huge for her. She's playing well enough to beat her opponents so far, which were Guitminen and then Hailey Baptiste and then Kazakina. And playing decent tennis, she should...
Oh wait, she did the... She's taken out all the lesbians. I didn't realise that.
The lesbian community has forgiven. Maybe Osaka.
I don't think they have.
We need to ask.
Do a poll. As a lesbian, how do you feel about Naomi Osaka right now?
Would be interesting.
Anyway,
anyway, she did win those matches, and that's really... It wasn't a super hard draw, you know. She was supposed to win those, but when you haven't made the second weekend so long, and you have actually had quite a few disasters in third round specifically, it really did feel huge for her yesterday, playing Kazatkina and kind of losing her way in that second set. And you could just see how hard she was fighting to keep it all in check mentally, you know, to not lose herself the way she did in Montreal. And she ended up finding a way, and she played actually pretty great to finish it. So
it was I think it was a tricky one because she won that first set so comprehensively, but then Kasatkina started returning really, really well, and again playing with great depth. And I think it's going to kind of fuck you up a little bit. Like I thought I had it, I kind of 1 foot over the line, and then also because Kasatkina is a terrible server, but she's an excellent returner. Like the fact that she is able to she's seeded 15 in this slam, and she has a fucking shit serve and barely ever holds her service games against half decent players. She is an incredible returner. I think that really threw Naomi off and almost meant that she wasn't good enough in her own return games because she was pissed off about just getting her serve broken. Where really actually you have to play Kasatkina opposite way.
She really is about Naomi. She draws a lot of confidence from her serve and from holding. So when that's not happening, it's like that can really become something else, and the rest of her game can kind of go away.
Yeah, and then Coco made it through what I understand to be a couple of ugly and emotional matches. Again, she plays in the night session, so they're usually when I'm tucked up in bed and asleep. Yeah. But did you catch any of her?
I mean, I watched some highlights, and the Tomljanovic match seemed actually pretty exciting as far as like a bunch of really grueling rallies and intense competition and all of that. So that seemed pretty fun, but yeah, the serving issues were still alive and well. But she came through that, and then it's funny. You look at the scoreline, and it's like, she won in straights against Vekic. That's actually a good result on paper, but apparently she got really emotional because the serve issues were still there, and she, I guess, just felt terrible about the way she was playing, and despite being on those big courts and night sessions when everyone's looking at her and all that, which does seem really hard to cope with. But still, once again, she won that competing. That's just what she does at this point. And then much better performance in the day session, which I think really does matter here, against Rek. So just barely risk anything at any point. It's funny, she still gave the easy, I'm trying to be more aggressive answer, and it's like, you pushed harder than you ever pushed in your life. And that was the plan, that's not a take, that's fine. She was just playing the rallies and counting on the fact that she would win most of those because she's more physical and just way better at getting the balls back, even than Frek, who is also that type of player. And now we have this match, and it's funny, if it happened in the third round, I would have felt really confident that Naomi would win it. I would have been like, she's just playing way better, there's a big gap in form, and there's just no way Goff can actually overcome that. And now it's like, I don't actually know.
Yeah, I think unfortunately Coco's winning because, again, like Naomi's performance against Kasatkina, she said it herself in the press conference, the tennis wasn't very good, and that the mental side of it was what kind of kept her in it. And I just think this is always a really hard matchup for her, so it will have to be an excellent Naomi. And she did, again in the press conference, mentioned the Beijing match, which is, she rightly felt that she was going to win. She's playing really well in that. So if it turns out like that match was, she's got a good chance. But if there's anything, how Coco is, if there's anything just slightly off it, if she can frustrate you, if you're finding the net too often with your forehands, if you're nervous, whatever, she's on it. So I hope she'll have to kind of come at it from a positive perspective, I think, and sort of play positive tennis.
Absolutely.
I think there's something about Coco, like, she really cares about people, and it kind of, she cares about the way she is viewed by people. And it sounds, I'm not trying to make it sound like it's really self-absorbed, because I don't see it like that. I think she just, like, she wants to give the fans a good time, and she wants people to appreciate her tennis and enjoy that experience, that, like, the issues that she faces with her game, it's not just a thing of like, oh, I'm not winning, or I'm not, because you can still win with them. It's more like, I'm not playing well enough, and I'm not kind of living up to what I could be doing. That's kind of how why I think she can sometimes react like this, and especially in front of
I really do think
crowd.
It's really a lot to do with just the attention she gets here, because it's not like she's not used to having to scrap through matches. Honestly, that's half of her professional matches at this point. But yeah, there's just something about that, and feeling like you need to be that person, that big match, who is always put on that primetime slot and who people really count on. And I think handling that while knowing that you're not playing great, I think that's a tough combo. But so far she's finding a way still.
On to the final the final two sections, the fourth round match between Amanda Anisimova and Beatrice Haddad-Maia. Anisimova just rolling through without too many issues, without I don't think we've really paid that much attention to her. And again, this is kind of what I mentioned before. She doesn't feel that American. The tournament isn't paying that much attention to her. She just made the Wimbledon final. She's American. She's kind of young-ish and still promising. Great game, but it doesn't feel like anyone's getting excited about her or caring about her. Just under the radar. But I think this is a nice, solid run already, given that, what happened last time.
It's her best in New York as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go. Yeah, absolutely the best, continuing the best year of her career. It's not just a few good results. She's obviously better overall. Yeah. And she'll play Haddad-Maia, who is seeded 18th, which
somehow.
I don't know. What the fuck?
She's defending quarterfinals points, and that's about all I can say.
She got a beat down from Mukova.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. So earlier on, we have to give her some credit, because earlier on this year I kept saying Haddad-Maia's lost 8 matches in a row, Haddad-Maia's lost 10 matches in a row. And here she is in the fourth round, having just destroyed Sakkari. I feel like that's happened lots of times before.
I actually think Brazilians, even more than in most other places, really do get a lot of love in New York. So maybe that's helping her push on.
But they...
In more ways than one.
They're everywhere. They are everywhere.
That's true.
So,
but
they might be a bit louder, but they're loud everywhere.
So, yeah, but I don't know if it feels even bigger in New York, I think. Maybe.
Yeah. I think, so there's Haddad-Maia in the fourth round. I think very interested to see how that will go with Anisimova. Because, I don't know. I don't feel super confident.
Yeah, Anisimova isn't playing great. She's competing well, once more, but... It's the performances aren't ooh, she's playing so well, but still, that's also, I guess, again, when you're playing a Haddad-Maia, that's also not really a bad thing, I guess, if you've been used to
just compete,
playing hard and having to really dig in.
Yeah, it's very rare players just blast her off the court. Even Iga at Roland Garros had to compete to beat her.
That's true.
And hopefully we'll get. Is that where do these matches go? Are these all on the main two courts now?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought that could be a fun grandstandy vibe with
the
Brazilians being louder than the Americans, because the Americans don't realise Anisimova's American.
Yeah. Her name sounds kind of Russian, whatever. Probably from there. She's blonde.
Yeah. What's your prediction for that one?
Anisimova in 3.
And Coco against Naomi?
Naomi in 3.
Really?
You know what?
In a third set?
The conditions feel especially big here, because Goff is playing way better, it seems like, in day conditions. So if you put her on night, I would back Naomi, I think. But in the daytime, I still think Naomi has a chance, but it probably seems way harder to hit Coco, to hit through Coco in those conditions. And it
will be night, quite likely, though, right?
I would think so, but it's Labor Day weekend, so actually maybe the prime time is the second spot in the day session. So maybe that will actually be there. I don't know.
Fuck. I also think Naomi seems to be more affected by the shadows than anyone else.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that really was the thing yesterday.
I'm just looking back up because I'm. What about Kostyuk Mukova?
Mukova in 3 again.
Krejcikova Townsend.
Krejcikova in 3. I'm just reading 3 sets for everybody because I'm not really confident in any of them.
Rybakina Vondrousova.
Rybakina in 3.
Really? Okay. Last fourth round match is Sam's two favourite players in the whole wide world. Alexandrova against Swiatek. Yeah, I think they'll just let you talk because I haven't seen either of them play much, I don't think.
So there is one player here who is blasting through the draw, who looks so impressive, who has been such a great front runner, and the other is Iga Swiatek. So
yeah,
that's what's happening.
So Iga will win in two.
I guess we'll see. Alexandrova really playing great. I mean, she, it's funny. You put her at a slam match against Sigmunis. It's actually really easy to go, oh, this might be really difficult for her. She tends to play worse at slams, and she can be get bamboozled and start playing badly. Demolished her. This is what people imagine Sabalenka Sigmund would be at Wimbledon. And yeah, she's just been great. Obviously, the draw hasn't been incredibly hard, but for Alexandrova, it doesn't feel like it matters that much. It's a lot about her own level and her serving and how she's hitting the ball. And in those circumstances, she's a really tough matchup for Iga, because she's actually once blown her off the court when Swiatek wasn't even that bad. She has matches when she's up against that kind of opposition and she ends up just beating herself, just trying to outgun someone who has bigger weapons. But when they play in Miami, it didn't even feel like that. Alexandrova was just way too good that day.
Has she beaten her twice? I think she beat her in 2021.
I don't think she did, no.
Okay.
It's a favorite. I mean, in terms of number, it's a favorable matchup for Iga. She's beaten her quite a few times, four times, I want to say. But the issue here is also Iga's form, which looked good in the first round and is the first set of the second round, and then something happened. I mean, not like one specific event has led to her form degrading. Just that's what's happening, and she's missing a bunch. Actually, my first theory is that she didn't serving well. And in the past, that would happen. It's well, it's not like she's relying on it all that much. She can return great and she can just win rallies even if the serve isn't doing anything. And because she has gotten used to some better serving performances, like in Wimbledon and in some matches against Rybakina in Cincinnati, when you get used to that and it kind of disappears on you, it's probably a bit disturbing, and doesn't feel like she's handling that very well. She's not making lots of first serves, and you'd think, okay, just land the second serve and try to play a rally and try to gain control that way. But she doesn't really seem willing to do that. So what she does is she hits a second serve, and sometimes she's actually just scared to do it, so she double faults on important points. That's one thing, and other times she doesn't she misjudges the first shot and misses it, and it's all a bit messy now. There is not one area, a spot in her games that feels intact. It's all just a bit messy. So yeah, actually the Alexandrova match was very funny.
The Kalinskaya.
Okay, yeah, Kalinskaya match. Just so as I said, Iga was playing really badly. Kalinskaya was pretty good, and she was Iga was serving to stay in it at 1-5, so you would think, okay, that's really easy set comfortable set for Kalinskaya. But then Kalinskaya kind of lost her mind. It's fair to say she started double faulting way too much. There was at one point she hit 4 backhands into the nets, in a row.
She's a massive choker.
Yeah, she is.
People don't talk about it, but she is a massive choker. She should have won Dubai and Berlin, both of those last year. Yeah. She's I'm not surprised, and also I think in this matchup particularly, when you have a lead against a great player, you can imagine how it goes off the rails.
It kind of all happened, and then actually around that time the match became really funny because both of them were really unstable, but they would also hit great shots, Iga especially. She would go from hitting some of the best running forehands I've seen from her ever. And then the next point she would miss forehands by 10 meters long. It's what's happening? It was all so confusing, and there was this whole frenzy when they would hit the ball and you just never knew what would happen in that point. It was very entertaining actually. But again, matches tend to be like just bad and like not a pleasure, fun watch at all. This was really fun to me.
Okay. Do you remember the article with the Casper Ruud quotes that came out at the beginning of the tournament? He said, "There's just marijuana everywhere."
Oh.
Are we sure that some of these players aren't getting second-hand high? Especially some... Kalinskaya and Iga have never had any drugs in their life. Maybe Kalinskaya second-hand Klosterball. But apart from that, these are clean ladies. I think 1 or 2 whiffs of weed could send them into this. And like I said it, I tweeted it, the Noskova-Mukova match looked like they'd had a sleeping pill before. They were so lethargic. I mean, Mukova was walking, like slowly walking during a point. If you told me these people had been forced to inhale some amount of weed before coming on court, I wouldn't be surprised.
The thing is, Iga mostly looked like she was on coke.
Well, she always looked like she's on coke.
That's true, I guess. But she was all over the place, but like in really like dynamic way. It was really fun.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That. Yeah. To me, that's how she tends to be. Maybe it was interacting with her other meds.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see how the rest of the tournament goes if other players look like they are drugged up. I always thought it would be a great exhibition, right?
Yeah.
Is for players to have a line of coke before they play. Like, how would that look? Would you be better? I think some players would be better.
Yeah, probably.
Imagine Mahatch on coke.
I imagine she's done coke. Just maybe not at the moment.
Yeah, sure.
He looks like the type. I actually don't know how that match will go then between Alexandrova and Swiatek. It's like
I know.
If you just copy and paste your form from the third round, you go Alexandrova any day of the week. But also Alexandrova is not a bit. She's a huge stamp choker. She's never been.
She's a huge everything choker. 11 match points against Mertens.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, but even more so at slams. I mean, this is a woman who has been like top 30 for the most part for basically this whole decade, pretty much, and she's never made a quarterfinal. Like everything,
and she's a good top 30 as well.
She's good. She's talented. It's like, do you know how many players who are much worse at tennis than you have made quarterfinals? Like dozens of them, and yet she never got over the line. She should have been Bencic in Wimbledon. Like that was literally the last slam. I guess it's good that she has made it yet another second week. That's already positive for her. But you don't fully trust her mentally to handle this match all that well.
Couple things on her. One is that I think we should collectively rethink the status of her being underwhelming at slams, because it's 3 in a row now that she's been
the second week.
And up to her seeding at least. This is the only 4th round match where both of the projected seedings have made it there.
Yeah.
And she played fairly well against Coco right at Roland Garros. And then should have won that Bencic match, but we know how it goes. She did beat Iga in 2021 in Gippsland Trophy. I remember that match. Okay. But I think I know how it's going to go. I think it's going to look like the Rybakina Roland Garros match. I think it will be maybe not quite as extreme, but I think Alexandrova will be blasting through Iga. And then at some point Iga will be like, no, I want to win this match. And then there'll be maybe a combination with an Alexandrova choke. I'm not even convinced she gets to a full set before this happens, but I think it's going to be an early lead that is reeled back in. 2 sets with a comeback or 3 sets with a comeback for Iga.
Yeah, and I guess it's interesting, Iga came in as like title favorite basically for most people. And now 2 things happened. First, her form dipped, and also every predicted opponent has actually made it. So it's like, ooh, well, it all looks very spooky suddenly. But yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned this. I think that it's not often... It's like once or twice a year where you feel like lots of good players are playing well. And I really look forward to those tournaments because it's so exciting when there's a prospect of Vondrousova, Krejcikova, Rybakina, Goff, Iga, Sabalenka, all of these players still in and all playing fairly well. Yeah. I think we've got a really exciting.
No one has talked about
second
it.
week.
Vondrousova, Krejcikova, Mukova in the same second week. I'm pretty sure this has never happened.
No, one of them. So if we're all here, who's on the injury table?
Literally,
Man?
yeah, that's what it is.
Who's taking charge of the hospital? Yeah.
Who's in surgery?
Because Mahatch is also still there.
That's really crazy.
Yeah, 2 Czech men in the second week, 3 Czech women, and 3 of them playing well. I think this is one of the most exciting, shaping up to be one of the most exciting second week lineups that we've seen for like a really long time.
Yeah.
Which actually maybe since the 2021 US Open. So maybe we're going to have a final between Buksha and Lee.
Oh my god.
They can't.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank God. The bottom half is so stacked that any player in the final, I think only Kostyuk and
Haddon-Maia would have also...
Haddon-Maia and Alexandrova, they've never made finals, but you know.
If Alexandrova is actually playing at her best like all throughout, I think she can make the final here. Maybe. That's way too...
She's not winning. She's not beating Iga.
That's way too big of a prediction, I guess. Too big of a swing. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Same.
Yeah, there was something I mentioned about... Who was it I was talking about? Lorenzo Musetti that I said I was going to say on Naomi. I was thinking about this for ages because, you know, she was struggling. She was under Patrick and everyone was saying, why are her results not improving? And I realised that who was the Naomi who won 4 slams? It was a Naomi who couldn't play on clay, who moved fine but not great, who couldn't hit a volley, couldn't hit a slice, right?
Yeah.
And she was pretty good, actually, I would say, especially at the slams, hardcourt slams. And then the coaches come in and they start trying to improve these things that you're lacking. At some point, I think this is so counter to like what all coaching probably is. I think give up on the improving those bits. Like if they're not massive holes, and if you can have an amount of success without them, just say that is who I am, and there's not much point trying to fill all of the gaps. Maybe you focus on one thing and you say Naomi will learn to volley. We'll do that. I think trying to fix every part is kind of why she was in this, a bit of a reason why she's in this situation where you're like, her regular game that we're used to looks worse. Like, why are you now worse at serving and your ground strokes are worse? Why has all of this gone downhill when you should be kind of approaching your prime? And I think this has reminded me because of what you said about Musetti. Stop trying to become a hardcourt player. Just play your game on hard courts and see where it takes you, because trying to fight against what is natural to you often takes too much energy, too much focus, and takes away from it. And I think Naomi, maybe Thomas said to her to just be who you are. It's
the only actual like piece of coaching that I've seen from him was on the practice courts this past week, and he was basically telling her, just hit huge, but don't go for winners. Literally, that's all. That was the big advice, which seemed pretty good.
I think was an underrated part of her game before. Was that like it's a bit Sinner-esque. Every shot was big. There wasn't like shocking winners all the time, but she builds points. There's a patience in there. There was like moving the ball around with pace on each shot, clean hitting, and then going for it. Not blasting. She was never close to an Ostapenko or even like Keys.
Yeah, and also he was telling her to just take it earlier as well. So it's just about changes to her approach, not really her technique or anything, or even her game as a whole. It's just do this one thing, and probably you'll be good. You'll do well, which makes sense.
And that confidence that your game is good enough, that like others are instilling in you, helps so much as well. Like you see, she kept missing her finishing shots. I think that comes so much from confidence. And if your coach is saying to you, you have everything you need, then you trust yourself in that moment to make the right decision. Say, I know where to hit this. You know. So that was it just reminded me of it when we talked about Musetti. And kind of one reason I think she's been good. But my God, Thomas Viktorovsky might be the best coach ever.
Well, I always felt like he was good, of course. Yeah,
we saw what he did with Ego. I mean, maybe it's our turn to win 37 matches in a row, huh?
Maybe.
And it was how many tournaments was it until? It was quite a while before she started that streak, wasn't it?
They played Adelaide, Rio, and Dubai.
Right. 3 tournaments. Okay. Let's see.
Predictions for like the back end of the tournament? How are you feeling?
Yeah, maybe we'll do. What I think might be good, based on what we've seen. Who do you think the final is going to be? Who do you think the winner is going to be? Because I think like it feels like the playing field has been really evened with Sabalenka and Iga based on like who's here, who's playing well here. So I'm going to go. Oh, this is very hard.
I know.
I think we're going to get Krejcikova. Krejcikova losing to Osaka. No, I don't think that. I don't believe that. Krejcikova beating Anisimova.
Oh, okay. She's back. I know.
In my head she is.
She's a new Paolini. I know.
I'm super like. If I was, my instinct was to pick Iga, but I think I always pick her. Yeah. I really always pick her. So. Yeah. What about you? Based on what you've seen.
Sabalenka Iga, no, just kidding. No matter what happens, they're both down match point at the same time. Sabalenka Iga final, it's coming, guys. Now, top half is just so difficult, If it's funny, if Rebecca was playing like someone worse in 4th round, I might say her, but no, because now her path looks super tough. So like, can you actually go that far?
And I don't think Sabalenka would lose to her twice in a row.
Sabalenka against Naomi.
Really? And who wins?
Sabalenka.
Okay. There you go. So even though Sabalenka's been pretty mid.
Yeah, but it's her at the hardcore slams at the end of the day, and she's not mid enough for Iga is being mid enough for me to actually doubt her chances, and for Sabalenka it's still like par for the course.
Okay, fair enough. What about the men?
I still think it's in Alcaraz, but
and who wins?
Alcaraz.
Yeah, I knew it from the start. Alcaraz beating. Yeah, who do I think? Yeah, there's just no one in there really. Alcaraz beating Senna. I think that's about right. Yeah. We'll see if we have time. I had this idea. It could be nice if we do every round a shorter podcast after the rounds, just for the final week.
Can try.
We can try. Maybe with an aim for it to be half an hour, 45 minutes.
Can you imagine us actually doing 45 minutes after quarterfinals? That would be something.
What do you think that's too short?
We would really need to be efficient.
Yeah, but it's based like it's based on the idea that like if you do more often.
Yeah, no, I know, I get it in theory, but I also think we'd be able to yap for an hour 30.
Yeah,
if we aren't careful. So
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But that's because otherwise.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's a more interesting thing, and actually I think the timings of this slam make it so that we can record.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of the others, it's like, when would we even do that? Yeah. Yeah. Nothing else.
Nope. Thank you for listening. We are looking forward to obviously the action of second week unfold. If you want to read Charlotte's takes on Twitter, she can't actually tweet anymore, so make sure to follow us on Twitter, because that's where actually you will find her content.
It's very, very like polished though. I'm not being
that's
because
true.
It's legally also under Sam's name. I'm not saying things like Iga has the ugliest game I've ever seen, which I don't believe, but it's keeping it PC.
So just follow there. If you have anything to say, if you enjoyed the podcast, or if you didn't, tell us.
Don't. We're still at 100% like rate on YouTube.
Oh wow!
Which is shocking because it's YouTube.
Well, so that many people go out of their way.
Yeah, but it's just surprising that none of the Rublev fans or the Sinner fans have found it yet.
Well, thank God for that. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, we'll see you back again quite soon, we hope, and enjoy the second week.